So I wanted to share a story that happened a few months ago. It's now December. This happened around March, April time. It's unbelievable. So it's about 8, 9 p.m. in the evening, and I'm walking along with my friend, and we're walking down the street a couple of blocks away from my home. It's a very dark street, and all of a sudden this guy appears. Now, usually you know what's going on when you're walking down the street. You could tell if there's someone down the street, you could tell if there's someone across the street. You have a pretty good idea of your surroundings. But it was so dark on that street that I literally didn't see this guy till he was right in front of me. And what happens is he walks up to me and he just whacks me in my privates. I didn't even pick up my hand to defend myself because I figured if the guy's going to attack me, he's going to hit me. But it didn't even happen. He just went straight from having his hands in a downward position to whacking me in my privates. So I started yelling at him, "Get away from me, you got the wrong guy, you don't want to have problems here." Whatever I could say to try to get him away. And he was just had this menacing look, and he came at me again, closer, and so I pushed him. And what happened was that after that, he fell on the floor, he gets up, he runs away, and I call there's these community volunteers. Basically, they're liaisons to the police. And they came over and they said to me, "What happened? We got to know right away," because someone else was also just attacked in that same area. And I'm thinking right away, this is obviously the same guy is saying that it was me. So we clarified everything, and they called the police. The police never showed up. And they said, "Don't worry about it. It's okay. No problem. The whole thing is squashed." Now, meanwhile, I'm going home with like a huge stomachache, which lasted for days because I got punched in the privates. This guy ends up getting taken to a hospital. Turns out he's a mentally ill person who had absolutely no business walking the streets on his own. He lives in a home in the area. They're supposed to have at least one shadow watching them. And because he went to the hospital, the police had to get involved. And once the police got involved, so then now they need to do something. So they go to the hospital, they interview him, and they came to the conclusion that number one, he's a mute, and they need him they need to represent him since he's not capable, so he can't decide on his own if he wants to press charges. And number two, that I broke his back. Now, it turns out that New York is a don't stand your ground state. If someone attacks you, you're supposed to turn around and run away. I don't see how I could have turned my back to this crazy person. But what happened was that the police, they went to interview him, and then they spoke to one of the liaisons that was helping me out with the situation, and he was trying to clarify with them that I did not break his back. This guy is known to walk in a very strange way, and he's known to have medical issues. He had surgery in the works. People in the neighborhood know that they have to stay out of his way. It's just absurd. Somebody like that shouldn't be freely walking the streets. The whole block, when I spoke to them, they told me that they know their children stay out of the way when he walks down the block. They're not even sure that he hit me on purpose, although it certainly felt that way. He had fire in his eyes when he hit me. So the police wanted to arrest me. They went to the house where it happened. They got videotape, and on the videotape they said it was clear enough to see what was going on, and I should have been able to handle myself better. What's ridiculous is that it was dark. the whole point of these video cameras is that they have infrared light to light up the situation. And so anyways, I have to lawyer up. So I have to spend a crazy amount of money. I hire a lawyer, and all the lawyer did was scare the heck out of me. He told me that this is going to be big. If something, I better pray nothing happens to the guy. We're talking Rikers Island. We're talking he was just terrorizing me. And, but he did accomplish getting the police to agree to give me 5 days to turn myself in, which, although was absolute hell, it ended up being a big benefit, because this liaison who was helping me from the local volunteer, he was frantically working to try to help me to get out of this. So anyways, what happens is that I am absolutely terrified, because I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I always thought that it's innocent until proven guilty. Somebody explained to me, in a court of law, it's innocent until proven guilty. With the police, it's guilty until proven innocent. They literally came into my life. They disrupted my life, and I was terrified. I lost about 15 pounds. I weighed 218. I weighed 203 by the time those 5 days were over. I went to the hospital. I was crying so much that I just went for walks. I was embarrassed that my wife should see me crying this much. It was just, I was just so terrified. I mean, I thought I was a tough guy, but when you don't know what's coming next, and you hear these kind of things, it's terrifying. Anyways, he was not able to get me to get the case dropped, because the police needed to have somebody, because if they were to release me, and then if something were to happen to the guy, they'd be on the hook. So I had to get arrested. So my lawyer made an agreement with the detective, who got permission from his superior, that I could turn myself in the following Monday morning at 8 a.m. So Sunday, I went to the hospital. I didn't know what was going on. My stomach was still hurting. My heart was pounding. I'm losing almost 15 pounds in a couple of days. My whole world was turned upside down. So what happens is that the next thing that happens is that the warrant squad comes at 6 a.m. Monday morning, and they knock on my door. So now I'm in the shower. I'm terrified. What's going on here? I'm a regular, normal, respectful citizen. I'm going to turn myself in at 8 a.m., whatever that means, and throw myself at the mercy of whatever's going on there. Go to central booking. I'm terrified. I have medication I need to take. My lawyer said, too bad, suck it up. Try to deal without it, because if you think that you're going to take medicine, you can't. And if you think that it's going to save you, all it's going to do is you're going to go to the hospital, they'll give you the medicine, and you'll start the whole thing all over again. I mean, this guy really, really terrified me. So the warrant squad shows up, and they were actually very pleasant, very nice, very friendly. And I said, I'm just curious, how come you guys, like, you know, you watch movies, you think the warrant squad, you're going to break my door down, you're going to look ugly. They said, oh, we have an ugly side, but I want to show you something. And there were three of them. One guy in the back, he had his camera going, and then two guys in the front, they looked like they were in the Marines. I mean, they were geared up. The guy shows me, he goes, this is your rap sheet. And he shows me an empty piece of paper. He goes, we're not worried about you. I said, I wasn't supposed to be there till 8 o'clock. He goes, don't worry. Think of us as a free car service. We'll be downstairs when you're ready. I'm like, I don't mean to push my luck, but do you mind if I pray? So I go downstairs. I get in the car, and they were very friendly. They didn't put handcuffs on me. They explained that they will have to put handcuffs on me when I get to the precinct. And so I'm talking to the guys, and I said, you know, look, what am I supposed to do when I get to central booking? How am I supposed to handle myself? Am I supposed to not engage? Am I supposed to have conversations? Am I supposed to stay to myself? Can you guys give me like a bit of advice? So the guy that was standing in the back with his camera on, he says to me, he goes, what you do is you look for the biggest, toughest looking guy in the room and you punch him in the face as hard as you can. So I said, oh, I noticed your camera's not on right now. He goes, I'm kidding. So I go, yeah, I understand. And then a few minutes later, I'm like, okay, so just to remember, hit the toughest looking guy in the room. And the guy's like, no, I was kidding. But anyways, it was very friendly. And, we get to the precinct and, they put the handcuffs on me way too tight. I don't want to complain because they were really nice guys and I don't want any trouble with the police. But I had marks, bruises on my hands for weeks after. They took me in, they took away, some, I don't know, they just, it was so haphazard what they did. Like they'll take your belt and all your string off your sweatshirt and rip it, and they'll do all the things like that, but then they'll let you keep other stuff. It's just very strange. And what I really don't understand is the way I was explained central booking. So then what is this idea of when you get to the precinct that they put you in this tiny cage? Because what is it, just punishment? And the way they treat you in the precinct, like, so these guys were really nice to me. And then when I got into the cage, like, it's like you're in another world. There's nobody minding us. There's nobody watching us. There's nobody tending to our needs. They promise you the world until the regular cops, these guys left. But once they get you in the cage, they're just nasty. And there's no need for it. I really don't understand it. I don't understand the whole setup. Thankfully, the guy who was fighting my case, he got the prosecutor's early intervention bureau to get involved. So thankfully, I didn't go to central booking. I got released straight from the precinct. I spent a long day there, and I met some really interesting characters. And it was one experience, to say the least. But I mean, the things I was told about central booking, you could get stuck there for days, that you get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you should save it because that's going to be your pillow for the night. The toilets in the open, it just a lot of horrific things. And then I wasn't afraid what my next step would be with Rikers, but thankfully they took me there early in the morning. I spent the entire day there, and at the end of the day, they released me. My lawyer swore up and down that I'm hoping for miracles, that'll never happen, and this and that. He was not nice or helpful in that. He was the worst of it. He made a bad situation much worse. But anyways, I'm trying to think if I forgot anything, but that was one of the scariest days of my life. I did nothing wrong. Somebody attacked me. I defended myself. I didn't calibrate myself to the strength of a stranger. I mean, like, somebody attacks you. I think I just pushed him away. How was I supposed to know that I'm on a ratio to him of some sort of strength level? Is absolutely ridiculous. And like I said, the volunteer got involved. It turns out that the guy's not a mute. It turns out that the guy needed the surgery anyways. So many things about the case that were ridiculous, but the police themselves wouldn't drop it. And then they released me, and they gave me this release paper, and God willing, I'd like to believe it's in the past. But I just thought it was a story I would share, because this could happen to anybody and everybody. And it's amazing how you think you live in a free country, you think you're safe, but somebody can just come into your life and disrupt it. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not one of these people that are extreme in any way of thinking. I'm just a regular guy that's trying my best to do the best I can in life, be a good person, raise a good family, and something's got to give. Something has to change, because this is just an unacceptable story. Anyways, I hope my misery was your joy. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or tell me how you think in the comments below. Thank you so much.